Hello and welcome to One United. I am Paritosh Joshi along with Dinet, Wali, and Anshuman. Four of us are together, and this is the first time Dinet and Anshuman are together in a podcast. So, welcome you both together for the first time. Dinet has been with us in the previous episodes, but lately he's not been very much consistent. But he'll be with us frequently afterwards.
Mhm.
We're here to talk about the Tottenham game, our performance against Brighton. We played them twice in the middle, and we did the preview of the Premier League fixture. And this is the first time we're meeting after that. So we played Brighton again. We won 3-0 against them. We struggled against them in the Premier League. Somehow got the result though. There's also UCL draw we need to talk about. So Derek, because it's your comeback episode, I'd like to talk to you first. How do you think United are performing right now?
I think we are getting some sort of form back because I also analyzed City's game, and since United and City came late to the Premier League because of the European fixtures they had,
Hmm.
it was kind of expected that our players were not going to be performing right from the start. Unfortunately, we got Crystal Palace, who surprisingly have turned up the season, and they gave us a very hard game in the very first match. So that always took us like to a very low, and considering all of us signing shambles. So I mean, yeah, it was a very bad start, but I feel like the team is kind of gelling. Against Brighton, we got really lucky, but there were instances where we could play the way we were playing towards the end of last season. So it'll be interesting to see how we play against Tottenham. But I feel like our team is getting back, or at least the players are getting their fitness back.
Okay, so that's your take on it. How were your reactions, Wali and Anshuman? Because we were quite frustrated about the first game against Brighton. We were constantly chatting as well, and it was just it was a heartbreak of a game because the performance in general has not been up to the mark. We all know that, but the way in which Brighton were able to dominate, that was so heartbreaking as a United fan, because you don't expect Brighton, but they are a good team. I'm not ruling them out because they are a fantastic team and they will perform really well. I think people are still not rating them as much. They are a fantastic team and they will finish high in the Premier League. So first, I'll talk to Anshuman. Anshuman, what do you think about the performance in the yesterday's game against Brighton, where we won 3-0 in the Carabao Cup?
Well, as far as the follow-up matches go against a singular team, I think our performance against Brighton yesterday was much better than what we had in the Premier League. And I'll
Hmm.
reiterate what I said in the chat, that we did not deserve to win that the match in the Premier League. I think we got away with it, and I think it is just one of those matches where you just come away with the points and just take the points and you move on. And I
Hmm.
think yesterday's match had a lot of positives in it. I think Dean Henderson again had a brilliant game. He had one very good save that kept us in the game. I think
Yep.
Juan Mata again one of a brilliant performance and assist and a brilliantly taken goal. I think he is proving his worth and his experience once again, and why he should be given more and more chances in the team. And I think Eric Bailly was incredible. I think alongside Victor Lindelof, he proved why he is the better option to be paired with Maguire. And the main reason is that he offers the confidence and the speed as a centre back partner that Maguire needs and Lindelof does not have. So I think that was on show
Hmm.
yesterday, and I think that gave me a lot of hope that yes, this is something that we can use. I think the biggest problem with Bai has been that we all can agree and know that he has had his injury issues, and were it not for the injuries issues, I think he would have had a lot more time on the pitch, and he would have been a guaranteed starter as well. But since he does not offer a lot of guarantee with his matches and his fitness, I think that uh, is the singular reason why he is not usually preferred as a regular partner to Harry Maguire. But if he can if he can be a bit more fit this season, I think he should be starting for us. I think that'll be brilliant. So yeah, I think Bai had a great match. I think Mata was brilliant. I think Henderson is churning out brilliant performances one by one after the other. I think Pogba got very lucky with his goal. I don't think it was his goal. I think it was an own goal, but fair point. He needed one, and I think Dallo offered more yesterday than I saw Timothy Fosu Mensah offering in our match against Crystal Palace. And there are currently reports going that Roma are back in for Smalling and they want Fosu Mensah in the deal because United are not certainly willing to let Dallo go. So I think that is a sign. I think we should be keeping Dallo. So yeah, there were a lot of
Hmm.
positives to be taken from yesterday's match that over our Premier League fixture. So I think yes, there were some positives yesterday's match, and I think the only advantage that we can take over Tottenham going into a Sunday's match is that they are playing tonight against in their final Europa League match. So we'll have a lot more fitness over them. So I think that is the one advantage that we have.
Yep, certainly. We'll be having advantage. One advantage that we also have is that Bale wouldn't be playing. He's not fit yet. So that is one huge boost, I think, because Gareth Bale is one player who I for sure fear that he can be one game changer for Tottenham when he comes into the
Son's
side. And
also gone.
if he start, yep, yes. So when he comes in and he can combine with Harry Kane and other players, so that will be very crucial for Tottenham. There are also reports that Jose Mourinho wants Jose Lingard in his side. That is quite interesting, and I don't know whether it will be fruitful or not, or it will come to fruition. But we'll have to wait and see how it all goes by. Wally, I want to talk to you about the whole transfer scenario because you are, in particular, quite frustrated about it. So, what is your take about the whole transfer window fiasco that we are facing?
Don't get me started. How many days are remaining? I think 4 days, 5 days, that's about it. And like I had given my analogy on it, basically, our board is like that college student that studies on the last couple of days before the exam and it tries to ace it, but it doesn't happen. So
Hmm.
that is something which we are now used to. Unfortunately, there's and the surprising thing is that we were in for Jadon Sancho for the past 7 months, and we
Hmm.
have been in for Jadon Sancho for the entire transfer window, and we're still
Hmm.
in for him with 4 days remaining, and we haven't got out of it. So basically, they have kept the fans on strings as to what's going to happen, which is horrible because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's number one target was Jadon Sancho, and yes, there are plenty of people who are turning on him, on Solskjaer,
Hmm.
and there will be. But you have to also think about him because if you are not getting the players that you want, then obviously you will also be mentally fucked up because you're not getting that backing that you were promised. So, and since the UCL draw, we also had the Champions League draw. We are facing PSG, RB Leipzig, and Istanbul, big quality teams in the Champions League. And for such fixtures, you need to have quality players, a world class player, and Jadon Sancho is one of them. So if you do not get him now, and if you get an injury prone Musa Dembele, which we are, I don't know, it's quite scary right now. When I read that, when I saw that Fabrizio Romano had tweeted that we are seriously in talks with Usman Dembele, my heart literally skipped a beat because I do not want him anywhere close to my team. He is injury prone. He's earning more than 200K at Barcelona, so wages is always going to be high, and he's not interested. So why are we even pursuing him? So it's a mess, and I don't know. Next 4 days they're going to be a big one. We have been linked to Cavani, Jovic, uh, Dembele, Teles, and Sancho. 5 players in 3 days. So I'm not even sure if we're gonna get two from these five. So I don't know. It's gonna be a big 5 days over here.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting how Manchester United finish off this window, the transfer window, but in particular with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because this is the first time he has had a few months to himself to think and analyze and make a sure shot list, give it to the board, and say that these are the players I want, and still they are not getting the players. So I don't know what to say about that. We'll have to also talk about how the fans are turning on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've talked about this again and again, and I've seen this argument, and I think this is a stupid argument that whenever shit comes to the fore, it's always the manager for Manchester United fans. There is always some scapegoat. It's if it's not the manager, it's a player. It's one particular individual who is the part of the problem, or he is the problem. It was Paul Pogba once. It was Jose Mourinho once. He was sacked. Once it was Hazel Lingard, if I remember. There's always someone in particular who is being targeted time and again for all the problems regarding to Manchester United. And the ones who know the club, the ones who have been following it for the past 7, 8, 10 years, they know what is the problem. It is not a player, it is not a manager, it is the board, it's Ed Woodward, it's the Glazers who are the problem. And till the time they are there, nobody can come in and ask questions. People are turning on. I was hearing this argument online that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Manchester United fans love him so much that they won't turn on him, And the similar argument when used for Lampard, people were like, no, Lampard can you lose 5 games, 6 games, and they'll still get him. Why though? Why is it is always Manchester United and the coach that they are being targeted? Frank Lampard isn't performing really well. If Manchester United win their game against Tottenham, they'll be having better points than Chelsea in the first few games. So I don't see a point behind always poking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in particular or the manager in particular. If you see, yes, I can certainly see a logic in the claim that there is a lack of tactics. He looks out of sorts at times, but you've also got to remember these players have hardly had any time off. When you play a full season and at the intensity that at Manchester United played, especially during the last 6 months of the last season, the break is one where the players just let go and relax. They just tone down their physical activity and then they recover. Our players haven't been able to do that. So I think that is a very major point that people are missing. I want to talk to Dinit about this. Dinit, what in particular do you think that is the problem? If there is one thing that is the reason why Manchester United are not able to perform, especially in the first few games.
I think definitely, like you mentioned, is the board. I mean, like we have been linked with Sancho for like over a year now, almost a year. And for it's a shame that even if we get him, it's still a shame that it took us that long. When before it would be like if you go to a player, we ask him, we get him, and the deal is done. Like how we signed RVP or any other big players when Fergie was around. So definitely the board has to be held accountable, but we all know that. But then I can make a case for Ole that like yeah, like you mentioned, we had a small break, and then between that break we had international period where most of our players were off for international, so Ole couldn't train with them. And then when they came back from the international break, Pogba, Van Bissaka, they all had their own had to isolate and stuff like that. So it didn't help Ole's case. But still, when you ask the question, like, but you still have the players to beat a team like Crystal Palace, that no matter who's playing for United, we should be getting a result. I know it was the first game, that's why I'm giving the benefit of doubt to Ole that Palace was on form, and also like their players were like all, even Brighton, to be honest, like they played well. Like if it was like even if they were played against even Liverpool or even City, they could have given them a tougher game than they would have in previous seasons. So not to discredit them, I guess it was the spirit of our opponents having form and we trying to get our form back to the start. Like we saw against how City played against Leicester. They struggle. Even the first game they played that they won, they struggle. So there is a case to make about fitness, which is why I'm not going to be pointing fingers at Ole at least the first 2 months, because I still feel like the team is just getting back. And we saw that like when players came on, got the few minutes against Brighton in the cup, they were looking much better and sharper. I still hope that Dean Henderson gets some run in the league. I still hope Van der Beek gets to start some games at least in the midfield whenever a player is not performing. But yeah, I think I'll give him a few more weeks to see how Ole can handle this squad. But yeah, for now, I think as long as we get a couple of players in, that would help us, especially now considering the Champions League draw is made. But if not, I think Ole has a big task up ahead, especially in the month of October.
Yeah. So yes, there's a big task ahead, especially if we don't sign any players, because as far as I can see, this is not looking very positive for any Manchester United fan that the transfer window is about to come to an end, and still there is only talks about players coming in. I think they'll sign one player just to show that we were in for many players, and then we finally signed one just to calm down the players a bit, players and the fans a bit. But I still think that Manchester United shouldn't be very hopeful. As fans, we shouldn't be very hopeful that we are going to have two or three signings, because that is only because if you expect something and then it doesn't happen, it will only bring you down. If you don't expect, then it happens, you can feel elated, but at least you will be better off if you don't expect. Anshuman, I want to talk to you about the Tottenham game and how do you think the team would line up, and what is your predicted 11 against Tottenham?
Well, I don't think that starting 11 will be much different than the one started at Brighton. But I think as far as our options from the bench are concerned, I think, like I said, Mata has proved to be very useful in the past couple of matches. So I think we might be able to see him appear much earlier in the game than the 87th minute. Oli brought him on in the Europa League semi-final last season, because I think that has been our major issue. And we have heard a lot of criticism coming from the Van de Beek side that he is just being given start very late in the match. And I agree. Like when you look at the Brighton match, that I think he came very late, like in the late 85 minutes or something. That was, I think, a bit harrowing for me. I did not really like him coming that late. I think that I would like to see him start above Pogba. He has not been playing well all right now, and it's all right to not play well, but it's much more of a problem if the manager doesn't fully try to take him out of the starting lineup. Because when you look at the example of Kepa Arrizabalaga at Chelsea, that was put into between the sticks much many more times than he should have had. And now that Edouard Mendy has come there, they don't have to put that pressure on him anymore. Different player, different positions. I get that, but I think we should notice that example, and we should remember that we have a player in Van de Beek that is very able and capable and deserving to start for us. And he plays. He can play in any part of the midfield, in the CDMs and the number 6 and number 8 positions that Pogba and Bruno play in. So I think if Pogba is not playing well, I would very much like Van de Beek to start, because he has been playing much better than Pogba right now. He even assisted for that brilliant Mata goal last night. So I think as far as the starting 11 changes go, I would like to see Bruno over Pogba. I think I would still want Matic to start, because he still offers us the defensive stability as the sole CDM in the game that no other player does. Fred and McTominay do have that mobility, but they don't really have the defensive nous that Matic brings us, and I think we do need that. And Bai must start. I hope he starts, because he has been playing over the past 2 matches. I think he deserves the starting run right now. Over Lindelof, for me, Bai would be. I think Vidya is going to start again, and our first three is going to we're going to stay the same that it was last time round.
Yep. I'll put the same question for Wally as well. What is your predicted 11 against Tottenham?
I think he's going to stick with the same 11, and Lindelof and Maguire are going to be the centre back pairing. De Gea is going to start in at goal, regardless of how Henderson has performed lately. And we did make a case about Pogba over here, and I feel that Pogba played really well yesterday because he was much more advanced. He was given the freedom. He was given the Bruno role. And if Pogba is given freedom, and if he's much closer to the final third region, I think he can be a bigger threat, because he has the physicality, he has the long range shots, and then you talk about set pieces as well. He can take those, and he can head the ball. So I think that, but I don't think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to persist with that. So unfortunately, Paul Pogba has to stay at the back, and Bruno Fernandes will be at the front. Yes, a case in point, like you said, Donny van de Beek will be knocking on the door. And if we get another poor performance of Paul Pogba, especially against Tottenham, I feel that he might be benched for a few games. And Van de Beek has been performing really well whenever he's been given a chance. So I think that there might be something in that. And for the front three, it's going to be the same. Juan Mata, he has done quite well in recent times in the cup competitions, but I don't think against Spurs he will be used, and it's going to be pretty much of a similar lineup. I don't think there's going to be much changes, and if and only if there is going to be a change, then it has to be Lindelof or Bai. But I'm being quite optimistic over here. I don't think it's going to be the same. We have known Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to persist with a similar lineup more often than not. So that is something which we might see once again.
So that is the statement from Wally. Dinit, I want to talk to you about the same. What do you think would be the formation of Manchester United going forward?
I think it's gonna be pretty much the same. I again hope to see Bai instead of Lindelof. Considering Spurs is gonna be so wrecked since they are playing like 4 games in 8 days. Otherwise, I would have said maybe Ole would have gone with 3 at the back and played Bai and Lindelof together. But considering Spurs' fixtures and the injuries they have, I don't think he should be that cautious about Spurs. So I still think he'll play 4 at the back and probably still put Lindelof there with Harry Maguire. But hopefully we get to see Bai over there. Midfield, considering this is Spurs and Mourinho, I think he would play Pogba, and I hope Pogba has a point to prove against his former manager. But if I had been any other team, I would have preferred Pogba to be dropped and play him from the bench. But considering it's Spurs and hopefully Pogba could put up a show, I hope to see him. And it's pretty much the same team as we played Brighton in the league. Hopefully Marshall can get a goal. He did score against Spurs before, and he does play well against Spurs. So hopefully he can start firing. And Rashford was pretty much fresh. He just came on the bench, so he could also be looking thirsty to get another goal this weekend. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about this game. I haven't been before, but considering how difficult it is for Tottenham, especially in this first few weeks, I think we
Especially
have
for
to
Eric Dyer.
especially for Eric Dyer as well. And let's see how they play against the Europa League, whether they go full team or not. Regardless, I still think like they have like so many wounds in their team. We should be getting 3 points.
Yeah, so I also think that we are going to be playing De Gea in between the sticks. I feel that Bailly is going to start because he's been brought into the team in the past 2 3 games. We've seen this, so I think he'll start against Tottenham Hotspur, and Maguire will come back for sure for the Premier League fixture. So I think it will be Aaron Wan-Bissaka along with Maguire and Bailly as centre backs, and then there'll be Luke Shaw from the left flank again. That will be our back. Then one thing interesting we were talking about is Juan Mata and his ball distribution in particular. So there is one thing which is lacking in this Manchester United side is that there is no player who can play the role that Michael Carrick used to play. If you remember that, he distributing the long balls, connecting the passes. When Scholes was in the side, there was Carrick who played a little laid back role, and that similar role can be played by Juan Mata, and he's a fantastic player. We've seen this time and again that whenever he comes, he puts in a performance which will make you recognize his work ethic. So I think he can be used time and again and in matches to give rest to Bruno and Van de Beek, because we've seen this time and again with this particular side because of the lack of options. Ole is notorious to use players who he has signed and who are performing well time and again, and then they get exhausted. Like we are seeing something similar with Bruno Fernandes. Bruno has been a shadow of himself just because of the similar reason, because he's been playing so consistently and he's not able to produce the performance that he was able to produce in the earlier part of his arrival. So I think that Juan Mata can be used even if you use him as a 66-minute substitute. And one interesting thing I heard about you guys talking is that Pogba, when especially Wari mentioned this, that when Pogba is given a free role, he is much better off. So I think Van der Beek, because he's so flexible and he's so agile with his performances, he can be played a little towards the CDM side with Pogba given the freedom. And when Bruno comes in or when Bruno plays, Bruno can go forward and Pogba can come back, or Van de Beek can hold the fort for Manchester United and then again attack. We have seen this time and again with Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood doing the trick for Manchester United from the front. One thing that I want to conclude our episode with is the UCL draw. Today was also the Champions League draw, and we have drawn Leipzig in our group along with PSG. So this is going to be a really tough draw. I think it is the toughest draw that any English side has got. I want to hear your views, and then we'll conclude the whole podcast. Dinit, I'll start with you. What do you think about the UCL draw that United have had in their for us in the draw?
I mean, it is difficult, but it could have been worse. I could say that. But considering how the other teams got their draws, I feel we got a bit hard on by Florent Malouda. He could have picked the balls a bit more properly. But I think definitely PSG one would be the most interesting. Red Bull Leipzig would be the tricky one, I think, because depending on how they perform, they lost Werner and they could have another star coming out from their ranks. That would be the tricky one. And Besiktas, I hope we beat them both times. All Turkish clubs are like.
So, are we going to play the knockout stages or not? Final verdict.
We can play knockout in Europa League also. I don't know. Hopefully.
Depends on the signing or not. If we sign 2 players in the rest of the transfer window, 3-4 days, if we are able to sign 2, then we have a chance, I think.
For sure, yeah. Obviously, like if we could strengthen those 2 left back and right wing position, then definitely we could be first or second. But yeah, it will depend on how PSG perform. Because like remember when Spurs was in the final and then they lost, their whole team had a spiral and they just went down. Paris, PSG also looks like that. They are seventh or eighth right now in League One. They lost 2 games out of 5. I know they had their injuries and suspensions and whatnot, but still, it's PSG. So yeah, it could be tricky. I'm not going to be very like confident that we might not make it. We have, I'm presuming we have like a 60% chance of getting through to the round of 16.
Anshuman, your thoughts on the same about the whole UCL draw and the group we have at our hands?
Well, needless to say, we have a very, very difficult group on our hands. I think alongside PSG and Leipzig, we have Başakşehir, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't think I'll be commenting on how far we can go in the Champions League right now, because we don't really. There are a lot of factors at play here. First of all, our whole transfer spending, we don't really know where it's gonna go. So we'll see what happens. As far as PSG is considered, they have not started their league season brilliantly, because their season started. I think the season started right after the Champions League final. They had their issues because the players were testing positive for COVID. Then there was this whole issue in their match against Marseille, where there was this whole spitting incident by Di Maria. Then there was this
Yep.
homophobic and racial slur incident with Neymar. Now,
Neymar.
as far the reports that came today were that neither Gonzalez or Neymar were issued with any sort of ban right now, because Neymar was alleged to have made homophobic and racist slurs towards Hiroki Sakai. They are their fullback, Marseille's fullback. So the point that I'm trying to make is they have a lot of issues going on in the background other than their front team. And if this goes to a European court, there could be a longer ban that could massively affect the way they play out, the group stages play out. As far as things with Leipzig go, they have their goal scoring issues because Werner has gone. And their defense looks pretty solid. Most of their players in the back, Klosterman, Holstenberg, Mukili, and Upamecano and Gulaci, that were there last season, they are still here. And I think in the attack, they're going to have a bit of problems. I think they also had Patrick Schick. He's gone now. I think Yusuf Paulsen is still there. They have brought Salzburg's Huang. So I think they have reinforced a bit, but there's no way of knowing how they're going to play right now. As far as Başakşehir goes, they won the Super League last season, but they have not started in the league well. And so I think that can percolate into their performances in the group stages as well. So I think it's a bit too early for me to say how Manchester United is going to go in the group stages. I don't think we can make a 100% accurate prediction. Well, you can never make a 100% accurate predictions. Like Atalanta last year, where they did not win the first 3 matches and then they ended up playing right until the quarterfinals. So I think I would like to see how the first 3 matches play out. What is the situation with PSG's players? And if Leipzig is able to reinforce their team, and if we are able to reinforce their team, I think we can end up. My prediction would be a solid second, if I'm being perfectly optimistic. So I think we can make it to the knockout stage.
Okay. So, Wally, do you think? What do you think about the group? I think you have similar thoughts as the rest of us. And what do you think would be is going to be the position by the end of it?
I think it's going to be really cagey, and it's going to go right down to the final game, the group stage, and it's going to be neck and neck. You can talk about the goal difference and everything else, and I think it's going to be difficult. I'm not quite confident, to be honest. I have been trying to convince myself that we might be able to make it, but I am honestly not so confident, because the only quality team that we faced in the Europa League was Sevilla. We played well against them, but we ended up losing. So we do not have that killer instinct that we need to have in the big games. That is something which is missing, and that is something which was missing in the strike force as well as at the back in the defense as well. We are our defense gets easily found out. You just have to lay a cross, and sooner or later there will be a header in, and that's a goal. And in the Champions League, there are gonna be bundles of crosses over there, because you have Angel Di Maria, and then obviously even Leipzig will have their players. So it's going to be really difficult, but I really hope that we might be able to make it. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could go with the new formation when we talk about the Champions League, and basically not a new formation. He has tried it out before, and that's going to be 5 men at the back. He might be able to use that. So we have had our defensive problems, but if we make a statement signing, like I've been saying, if we get a Jadon Sancho, we are a confidence team that basically bounces more on confidence rather than formation, tactics, or anything else. We got Bruno Fernandes. That positivity was spread across the fan base, across the players, social media. We started performing well. Similarly, if we get a Sancho or a Teles or someone else, we will be confident and we might be able to perform well. And like I said, for Champions League and for Champions League games, you need to have a squad, not an 11, because you need players to be in and out. There will be injuries, there might be muscle strains and all that. And if, let's say, Sancho comes out, Greenwood will be coming in, that's more problems for the defenders. And otherwise, what will PSG have to do? Let's say Greenwood, this will be his first season in the Champions League. He'll be inexperienced. They just have to fend off Greenwood. If he gets tired, oh, Dan James is coming in. Oh, no problem at all. We'll just defend him out. So that is exactly what I'm talking about. We need a squad, and these next 4 days might be deciding our fate as to how we perform in Europe as well as in England. So I hope that we do well.
I think similar that these 4 days are going to be crucial, and then we can surely see how Manchester United are going to fare in the UEFA Champions League. I think that's all from us for this episode and this podcast. So we'll be seeing you guys again after the Tottenham game. Hopefully, we'll have a review of the game and how Manchester United have fared in the last few days of the transfer window. So that's it from my side and from Dinit, Thomas, Wale Siddiqui, and Shuman Joshi. See you guys in the next episode.